I went to summer camp in a rural part of New Jersey, back in the mid-1990s. The camp was situated on a long, narrow, man-made lake. One end of the lake was reserved for swimming, which we do as a group activity, every other day or so. I was at the camp with my two best friends. The swimming area had one long dock, stretching straight out into the water, and two square floating docks further out. One of the two floating docks was a bit far away, but the dock that was the farthest away was called the Faraway Dock. Although I had spent a few summers at the camp, I had never seen anyone use that faraway dock. One day, my friend got the bright idea that we were going to swim out to the faraway dock. He did not want to do so alone, so he convinced me and my other friend to go with him. Each year, the counselors at the camp would tell all the campers to never swim out to the faraway dock. But since my friends and I were all 11 at the time, we decided to go. I would consider this to be a moderate challenge for a casual swimmer. The next day around lunchtime, my friends and I snuck out the cafeteria. We walked to an area of the woods with a lot of bushes and prepared for the swim. Once ready, we started our swim. When we reached the dock, I noticed a strange looking spider on the ladder that you had to use to climb up. It was quite large in terms of overall footprint, probably about 2 inches 5 centimeters from end to end, with long skinny legs. Spiders, of course, are normal critters to encounter in nature, but this one stood out to me because of its unusual appearance. After the long swim, we took a few minutes to lie on the dock and rest in the sun. It was relaxing, and we were all having a good time. At some point, I heard a weird scratching sound coming from the dock we were laying on. I asked my friends if they heard the same sound, but they brushed it off as water hitting the dock. We started messing around and decided to play one of our regular games, where we would all shuffle towards the corner of the dock, causing it to sink. We would play this game at every single dock whenever we got the chance. As the corner of the dock started to sink and fill with water, hundreds of giant spiders emerged frantically, pouring out from between the boards, swarming over and around the feet of those of us who were still standing on dry ground. This dock was theirs apparently. We all immediately began to scream and jump into the water trying to get away, but the spiders were in the water too and stuck to us as we swam. I vividly remember the feeling of them clinging to my wet hair, fleshy bodies and long squirming legs, hopelessly intertwined with my own strands. At some point I managed to swim a little further away. I got out of the water to take a breath when I felt something on the top of my head. I reluctantly reached my hand towards my head. I could feel the slimy hairs of a giant spider sitting on the top of my head. I grabbed the spider and threw it as far as I could, as I let out a loud scream. Adrenaline propelled us back to the main part of the swimming area, and by the time we got there, thankfully, we were spider-free. But this is a childhood trauma that lingers with me. I had not really been afraid of spiders before, but I would say this was a major turning point. The thought of us lying on a dock in the sun, completely oblivious to a horde of giant spiders that was lurking just inches beneath us, creeps me out to this day. This encounter happened many years ago, when I was very young. It was around the year 2001 or 2002, and I was 11 to 12 at the time. My uncle was interested in purchasing some land near Red Oak, Oklahoma. I do not know exactly where, but it was several acres in a very remote area. My mother and I decided to accompany my father one Saturday to scope out the property. From our home, it was a little more than a 3-hour drive, but we all love riding in the car, so while it was not going to be the most eventful road trip, we went just to get out of the house. Upon arrival, I remember being very underwhelmed by the place. No houses anywhere near, and hardly even any signs of life at all, apart from a few birds. And the wooded area wasn't exactly what I call picturesque. Still, we parked our car off the road to go explore the woods a little. My uncle was talking about buying the land for hunting, not really my cup of tea. As we walked through the woods, it was a very nice day, but still, something felt off. Everyone in our group remarked about the eerie feeling, but my dad and uncle seemed to laugh it off. My mom had goosebumps and kept looking over her shoulders, which made me on edge too. She was very insistent that it was weird and she wanted to leave, saying it felt like she was being watched. After a bit of hiking, I noticed that there was a small red building. I've seen bigger storage sheds in the suburbs, but it looked well built. My uncle said there was nothing about it on the listing, so we went to peek inside. The door was open, and inside there were open cans of food, a ratty blanket on the floor, and it stunk unlike anything I'd ever smelled before. Following this discovery, we all agreed it would be best to get back to the car. If there was some crazy hermit living in the woods, we didn't want to be around to find him. Only issue, we had walked pretty far into the woods, and now we weren't exactly sure which direction was correct. The eerie feeling was really amped up, and we were all on edge. We ended up trekking another mile before we finally found a road, but we were further down from where we had parked the car, but at least we could just follow the road now. Walking along the road, we came across a truly unsettling sight. Right in the middle of the asphalt was a dark gray cat, on fire. I have no idea why a cat was out in the middle of nowhere, or how it came to be killed and set alive. Obviously this had just happened, but there was no one in sight. Naturally, we ran the rest of the way to the car. There was a huge scratch in the paint, all down the side of it, from hood to truck. Thankfully, that was the only damage, and my dad was able to start it without any trouble. We drove off as fast as we possibly could. My heart is sped up just recounting this moment, definitely one of the scariest of my life. Needless to say, my uncle did not buy the land, and I'll always remember this terrifying encounter. But like anything, over time I sort of pushed it to the back of my mind, and it just became one of those odd moments you occasionally retell at family get-togethers years later, so much that it's almost just a funny story. The reason I'm sharing this is because I was reminded of it last night while binge watching some episodes of BuzzFeed Unsolved on YouTube, when they shared the story of a family that disappeared in the same area, while also looking at some land for sale. The disappearance of the Jameson family is the name of the mystery in the video, if you're interested. The family died in the same area we were searching, roughly 7 years after we made our trip there. There are many theories about their deaths, including the allegations of some sort of cult in the area, complete with something about dead cats. Coincidence? Probably, but the whole story gave me chills. So my family narrowly avoided being killed by some witches, or a cult, or whatever, or we just stumbled upon a hermit who didn't want us in his woods.